아가씨들 팔았죠?
아니에요.
아니긴 뭐가 아니야. 팔았죠?
아니라니까요. 안 팔았어요. 죽였어요.
뭐?
아니요.
지금 뭐라 그랬잖아요.
Tonight's film comes from South Korea, and it's as relentless as its title suggests. Imagine 7 being dialed up to 11. This isn't a police procedural where the detective always gets his man. It's a street-level thriller where the cops bungle the case, the system stalls, and the only man chasing the killer is a disgraced ex-detective turned pimp. Yeah, that's right. The protagonist is a pimp. That's the bleak genius of The Chaser.
Released in 2008, The Chaser was the feature debut of director Na Hong-jin. Prior to The Chaser, he'd worked in commercials, and he came to cinema with a bit of a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. Yoon-seok, cast against type as Jung-woo, the sleazy ex-cop who now runs women on the streets of Seoul. This was his breakout role. Opposite him, Young-woo was the killer, a chillingly casual murderer who admits his crimes within minutes of being caught, yet the system simply can't hold him. It's trapped by its own red tape.
Na Hong-jin has said he started writing The Chaser after being fascinated and horrified by real news reports of South Korea's most notorious serial killer case. In the early 2000s, a man named Yoo Young-chul confessed to murdering dozens, many of them sex workers. He admitted everything almost casually, yet the police and the courts bungled the procedure, dragged down by incompetence and bureaucracy. And that situation where the killer confesses to the crimes and a system that still fails to stop him was the real spark. From that horror, Na built The Chaser.
Jung-woo notices several of his girls have gone missing after being booked by the same client.
완전 또라이 새끼인데.
He sends Mi-jin, one of his workers, to meet the man, hoping that he'll catch him out. But when she also disappears, Jung-woo realises too late that he's stumbled into something far, far darker. What follows is less a whodunit than a ticking clock thriller. The tension comes from whether the system will act in time and whether Jung-woo can save Mi-jin before it's too late. And this is why we're rooting for a pimp.
Stylistically, The Chaser is raw and unglamorous.
Seoul is shot as a maze of back streets, of stairwells and rain-soaked alleys. The violence is messy and unchoreographed and ugly.
There's a long chase on foot that feels like it was shot in real time, exhausting both for the actors and the audience, with the actors slipping realistically, and that realism adds to the film's authenticity and feeds into the horrors that ultimately occur. And crucially, Na avoids melodrama. The camera often hangs back, letting the horror play out in wide shot, making us complicit observers. The viewer feels like a hopeless voyeur, which of course we always are.
The film cost roughly $2.5 million to make. It premiered in Korea in February 2008, and word of mouth quickly spread, drawing over 5 million admissions, which was a huge number for an R-rated thriller. It won Best Film at the Grand Bell Awards, Korea's equivalent of the Oscars, and travelled the festival circuit, screening at Cannes in midnight showings. Hollywood, of course, came calling. Warner Brothers bought the remake rights in 2008, with Leonardo DiCaprio once attached to star. However, the remake never happened. If history of Hollywood tells us anything, we should be thankful for that. Hollywood would have neutered The Chaser. At its core, The Chaser is about institutional failure. The police are more worried about the mayor's reputation after he's literally been covered in shit than the safety of the women on the streets. The bureaucracy stalls when action is needed most. It's a critique of a system where lives are not lost because the crime is hidden, but because the machinery of justice is corrupt and bureaucratic. It's also a character study of a morally bankrupt man who finds his last shred of decency, and it asks a question few thrillers dare. What if the chase itself was actually a waste of time?
Kim Yoon-seok, who played the pimp, became one of Korea's biggest actors, going on to star in The Yellow Sea and The Thieves. Jung-woo, the killer, has since become one of the most respected leading men in Korean cinema, with films like The Handmaiden and Along with the Gods. And Na Hong-jin followed the chaser with The Yellow Sea, even longer and even darker. I really like The Chaser. It's powerful, it's exhilarating, and it's actually really frustrating in the end. Most thrillers promise you justice, the good guy gets his man, but this one shows none of that. This is closer to the truth. It shows you that government agencies are slow, run by people who are afraid and short-sighted. They're not necessarily there to protect and serve the citizens in spite of what they write on the side of their cars. And we don't want to hear that. And Jung-ho is another anti-hero. You may have noticed that I have quite a soft spot for those. He's jaded and self-serving, and when the system collapses, he's all that stands between Ma-jin and death. And Na Hong-jin doesn't let us off the hook with easy answers. It's bleak and it's honest, and that's what makes it unforgettable. The Chase is one of the great modern Korean thrillers, and I promise you, once you start watching it, you'll find it hard to stop. It's like The Chase itself. You'll wonder how it will end. You might wish it never did. And that's what makes it Moviedrome. It's relentless, haunting, and it's impossible to forget. Enjoy.